What you see here is a psychrometer. We've just spent some time observing this psychrometer in class and answering a few of the questions on the top of your lab. The rest of this video is going to help you understand how to perform the lab activity. This is especially helpful for those of you who missed the lab in class. As you notice, the psychrometer has two thermometers. One of them has this little wet cloth attached to the bulb of the end of the thermometer. The other thermometer is identical, but it has no wet cloth on the end of it. So this one would be the dry bulb thermometer, and this one is the wet bulb thermometer. Both of them are attached to this stick, which allows you to sling the psychrometer. More on that in a moment. Before we move on, we should make sure that we can read this thermometer properly. Looking here at the dry bulb thermometer, if we notice the delineations on this thermometer, you see each line between the whole numbers 20 and 30 represents 2 degrees Celsius. We are dealing in degrees Celsius in this science lab. So the temperature you see on this dry bulb thermometer at the moment would be 25 degrees Celsius. Now we're ready to test the relative humidity of the air using our sling psychrometer. To do so, you grab the handle near the end and you spin it helicopter style. It's important that you don't get it flopping all over the place or spinning in any haphazard way, because the psychrometers are fragile. You can see most of them, yours probably, is taped together. So do take time to spin it carefully. And you want to keep it higher than the heads of the people around you so that you don't take anybody's eye out. Like I said, the psychrometers are fragile, as you saw when that last one just broke. So be very careful as you're slinging the psychrometers. Occasionally some drips of water might fly off the ends of the wet bulb, and that's totally normal. Just do try to keep the thermometers away from other people's heads. So you want to keep slinging the psychrometer for maybe a minute or two at a time, and you want to stop occasionally and check the temperature. You want to see if when the temperature stops changing. So you have to check it at least twice. The first time you check the temperature, you know the temperature of the wet bulb and the dry bulb. Then you sling it for a little while longer and you check the temperature again. I'm going to check it off camera so I can actually see it better. We are currently at 21 degrees on the dry bulb. You want to keep slinging your psychrometer until both temperatures have stopped changing. For the sake of time here, I will check it again. My dry bulb is still at 22 degrees. The wet bulb is at 17. I'm just going to sling it a little bit more just to make sure that wet bulb is done changing. When you're slinging your psychrometer, the reason you sling it is because you are creating wind along the wet bulb, and that just speeds the evaporation process, which is what's making the wet bulb thermometer read a cooler temperature. So you're simply speeding up the evaporation of the water on the wet bulb thermometer. Check it one more time here. And that wet bulb thermometer is still at 17 degrees. So we are going to call it at that. You're going to write your data down next. So once you know for sure that your wet bulb and dry bulb thermometer temperatures are no longer dropping as you sling your psychrometer, then you're ready to record your data. I had 21 degrees Celsius on my dry bulb temperature and 17 degrees Celsius on the wet bulb temperature. The wet bulb depression is simply the dry bulb temperature minus the wet bulb temperature. So in this case, that would be 4 degrees Celsius. To calculate the relative humidity, you simply use a chart. This chart will be available to you on your quiz as well. To find the relative humidity, you want to take the dry bulb temperature, which is the dry bulb reading down the left side of your data table. Then you want to take the wet bulb depression. We are not going to use the wet bulb temperature. We're using the difference between the wet and dry bulb thermometer readings. That is also the wet bulb depression. So we are using this number and this number here. So we're going to take that 21 degrees. 21 degrees is here. That's 21 degrees Celsius on the dry bulb thermometer. And the wet bulb depression is 4 degrees Celsius, which is up here. So we draw a line straight across and down. And so this number here, 67, this is our relative humidity, 67%.